Steph Curry is a dog, and he's officially reached that status of no return where he's one of the clutchest players of all time. Now, I know that a lot of people may say, "Oh, but he's been clutch for the longest. He's been clutch," and it's like if you really look at it, he hasn't been clutch for the most part of his career until 2022, last season. This is because of a lot of variables, but this mostly had to do with him not being able to step up in the big moments. And I know that a lot of people, and by the way, I'm talking about as the first option. I know a lot of people are going to point to 2015, 18, 17, but in those series, he either underperformed or was not the best player on his team. But Steph Curry has done it. He's pushed beyond. And now I can officially say that we could put Steph Curry among the greats like LeBron from 2012 to 2020, Jordan in the 90s basically, right? Like, because he retired and shit. So Jordan in the 90s, Hakeem for the 2 years where Jordan left, right? Kareem in 1980 and 1971 when he just absolutely was a dog. And it's a point that a lot of all-time players reach and that every top 10 player has reached, right? Like Kevin Durant when he was with the Warriors, if you want to consider him a top 10 player. Will Chamberlain when he was with the Lakers in that 1 year in Philly. And it's where you're just comfortable in the big moments, where you've been there and you know what to do and you know how to execute, right? The most comfortable we've ever seen a person in these moments have been obviously LeBron and Jordan, both in their 8 years, like not in their 8th years, but 1998 and 2018, right? Where we just saw both of them absolutely just do everything necessary to win. And of course, LeBron didn't win a championship, but that was because his team sucked, and there was a super team which took over the league, right? So really, LeBron even making it to the finals was like one of the biggest achievements that we've ever seen. If we're being honest, like not even biased or anything, that was insane. But really, I think Steph Curry has reached that point, dropping 50 in a game 7, and he did it so comfortably. And if you actually watch the game, he was making really tough shots. He was getting hit in his shoulder a lot, and he was stepping back, 3-pointer, money. He was going off a screen, floater, money. And he was just getting guarded. Even at the end of the game is when they started putting some respect on his name. But even then, he was hitting shots. Like, there was one time where they were putting a lot of pressure on him, and then eventually he ended up in the corner and he hit a big 3, which basically put the game away, because after that point it just seemed like they were trying anything just to stop him. I also do think that Stephen Curry was aware of his point totals, because you could see that in one he just ran through the entire defense just to get a layup so he could get 50, and then he checked out of the game. But I do believe that Steph Curry did something incredible, and we have to give him praise for that. For the Kings, on the other hand, I do believe that we have to give them their props. They were a team which were not even expected to make the playoffs this year. A lot of people said that the trading for Sabonis was a huge overreaction to like De'Aaron Fox's potential and the moves that they had made, right? That was just like, oh, you're overreacting to Fox's potential. You should have built around Halliburton and gotten him a big as well. But I do believe that this has been a success of a season. You took the really last year's champs to 7 games. You made it tough for them. And even though, yes, De'Aaron Fox didn't come up clutch in the biggest stage, which I'm sorry, but a game 7 in the playoffs is something that takes a special type of player to perform in, right? Like look at LeBron in 2016. Look at Kyrie in 2016, which was impressive, honestly. I mean, we got to give him more props for that performance. Look at Kevin Durant in 2021, etc. You could see these types of guys who are molded for that stage. And really, I'm really glad that the Kings pushed it that far, that series. Yes, they were most likely never going to win that. It's the Golden State Warriors. They're probably the best team in the NBA. But I do think that we should give the Kings some respect now and hope that they can just keep doing what they're doing. Because honestly, look, the Warriors are fading away. I love the Warriors, but really, how many, like, Steph has two more MVP seasons in him. Two. So really, I mean, I think that they're going to keep being a good team, but for right now, the Kings look like the future, and they have a promising future. And honestly, I believe that it taught a lot of their guys a lesson. I do want to say shout out to Sabonis on the offensive end, but I do want to say that he needs to work on working with bigger bodies. Like Sabonis gets a lot of rebounds, but really, when he gets put against a big body like Kevon Looney, that he just kind of froze, and like they didn't want it bad enough. Like, I also want to say shout out to Kevon Looney. He ended up with like 21 rebounds and like barely any points, and I believe he was a huge game changer. Even like they would miss two shots in a row, he would still get the rebound, pass it out, and then they would make something. I feel like that's insane. And I do want to say that Kevon Looney put on an absolute masterpiece of a big man performance. He was as effective as can be with the role that he had, right? Because his role is like a rebounder, dunker, screener, like defender. And I believe that he took that role and he made it the absolute best that you could make it for his position and his playtime, honestly. I want to say shout out to Clay for never getting unmotivated. He really looked like a champion out there. Where in the first half he was getting cooked, he wasn't making any shots, but then he came up big in the third quarter and just to make it competitive for his team, and he never gave up. Also, I want to say shout out to Malik Monk because even though in the end, yes, he had a rough stretch, originally he helped like push the pace for the Kings when they were going through a stretch where De'Aaron Fox wasn't shooting that well. And I believe this was just an experience. Shout out to Keegan Murray. He played really well. And Jordan Poole for also being one of those guys that just didn't give up, right? Andrew Wiggins played really well in my opinion. I don't even have any stats up for this. I'm just going off what I saw. And I believe that this series was fun. And it showed that Sacramento was built for the playoffs. It's just that they need experience since they've never had it. So I hope that the next year they can come back better, faster, stronger, and that also they have more consistency because honestly, one of the big things I noticed is that Kevin Huerter in the first quarter was getting his way, right? But then after that, he was kind of stinking it up. Also, I do want to say that probably the most deadly thing in the NBA is that Warriors third quarter. I saw it live where the Warriors just completely shifted the pace when they came back. They defensively, offensively, they just really messed with the Kings. And the fact that they couldn't get a rebound messed up the Kings mentally. I saw it. They weren't confident in themselves in that third quarter, and that led them to the fourth. So I want to say shout out to the Kings for really taking the last year's champs to 7 games. I want to say shout out to the Warriors for winning this series because now it's going to be Lakers-Warriors, which is going to be really interesting. And I do believe that, honestly, this was a great series. Also, shout out to Miami for winning against the Knicks. That was a great game. I hope that Jimmy Butler's fine and that he can keep playing. And Gabe Vincent had an absolute masterclass. Yeah, I mean, the Western Conference just got very interesting.